So let's start with the lab safety and equipment. Let me go ahead and click all these out here so you have some idea of what you're going to be dealing with. We'll eventually have a quiz over this material, no doubt. So go ahead and make sure that you are familiar with all of the material that you get in this presentation. The safety part of it, along with all the equipment, and be able to identify the equipment and identify the main use. There are a lot of pieces of equipment that have multiple uses, but I'll usually focus in on the main use of an item. When you come in for lab, make sure that as you arrive that you place everything under your desk, book bags included. We don't want anybody tripping over any of that material on the floor. So always make sure that your book bags, purses, jackets, whatever, is completely out of the way. Nobody can trip over it. Make sure everyone in the lab group gets to manipulate the equipment. If you're in a lab group where someone likes to dominate the procedures, you might want to change your lab partners. I don't assign lab partners unless I feel like there's a need to. But for the initial part of the year, I'll let you choose, but I recommend that you work as a team. Not one person does all the work and the other person just sits there and says, oh, that's really, really cool. Anything that happens in lab, whether it's you burn yourself on hot glass, or you cut yourself on something, or you get something on your skin, I need to know. It's just a matter of running a lab properly. I need to know what's going on, every little thing that goes on in it. So you need to make sure that you tell me if anything goes wrong, and make sure that before you come to lab you wash your hands, or at the beginning of class wash your hands, and after the lab's done wash your hands, especially if it's close to lunch period. But obviously if you don't wash your hands after lab, you could be carrying something on your skin, not even know it, and later on eat something and you might be ingesting that chemical. So you never know. Obviously there's no eating and drinking in the lab. That should be common sense. So if you have something to drink or you have something to eat, put it away when you come in, and don't get it out until you leave. If you have long hair, if you have long sleeves, and we're using the Bunsen burners or open flames, tie it back, roll the sleeves up. You will wear the goggles and the aprons some of the time, but it might vary how often you're going to have to wear the aprons. Goggles you'll wear more often. There are a few labs where we won't wear them at all, but just pay attention when you come in, and I'll mention somewhere, either on the board, wrote a handout, and go ahead and put your goggles on, put your aprons on. Only perform the experiments that are listed. I do not need anybody coming in and deciding that they are a mad scientist and they want to mix two chemicals together that aren't supposed to be. That's a good way to get into trouble. So make sure you only follow the directions as they're listed. Don't just mix stuff together randomly. Obviously, Bunsen burners, hot plates, be extra careful. And when we are dealing with hot glass and you're wondering if it's still hot, if it's okay to go ahead and rinse off, pick up, don't ever, ever take the front of your hand and touch it directly. Being the back of your hand, that's the side that is away from you. Bring that part towards the glass. The reason you use the back part of your hand is because that's the more sensitive part. So you'll feel the heat earlier if you use the back of your hand. The front of your hand is always touching. The back of your hand is not, so you're gonna feel that on the back before you feel it on the front of your hand. And when heating liquids, make sure you point the mouth of the container away from anybody at your lab station. That usually is things like test tubes that you're holding with a test tube holder. We'll get to that later. But again, that should be common sense. All right, so this concludes part 1 of the lab safety PowerPoint. Part 2 should be coming up soon.